Okay, so this is what I'm calling the Power Half Hour. So just jumping on a live really quickly just to discuss some of the toy news, the pop culture news and stuff that has been going on in the world today. So the biggest thing for me that came up was the Super 7 announcements. So Super 7 have announced a whole bunch of lines that this is all ahead of New York Toy Fair as well, interestingly enough. So obviously New York Toy Fair is coming up end of this week. Really frustratingly, I'm going to New York and I fly out the day that Toy Fair finishes, which is really frustrating for me. But hey ho, that's, I say it all the time that whenever we go over to New York, I always say that I need to go at New York Toy Fair time, and always forget and always book it for like the week after. Anyway, New York Toy Fair is coming up this week. Super 7 have announced a whole bunch of new licenses. Now, these licenses are really interesting. Let's go straight away with the big one, which is Visionaries. So Visionaries, for anyone that doesn't know, is a Hasbro license. So Hasbro released Visionaries back in the late 80s. I think it was 87. So 1987, Visionaries come out, and it was quite short-lived, but for kids of the 80s, it was quite a big one. So it had, it was the Knights of the Magical Light, and very similar to kind of He-Man. It kind of mixed kind of fantasy with science and all the rest of it. But the big selling point of these action figures, they were kind of O-ring figures, highly articulated. But the big selling point for these particular figures were the holograms that they had on their chest, and they had staffs as well, which had the hologram, and basically the characters could turn into these animals and creatures that were on the holograms. What's really interesting is Super 7 taking over the license. So all they've done is just posted a screenshot of like a Visionaries X Super 7. I'm guessing these are going to be their reaction like figures, the kind of little small 3 3/4 inch figures. They've done a whole bunch of licenses in the past with these reactions. Now, what I'm curious about with the Super 7 reaction figures for Visionaries is how they're going to incorporate the holograms, because the big part of this franchise, the big reason for them being so popular, was this kind of unique element of having these holograms in the chest, and obviously it had a cartoon that tied in with it, and in the 80s as well. So they're not going to have that. So what are they going to do with it? It fits though. It does fit. So size wise, it's the right size for the reaction figures. So it could work. But yeah, I mean, Visionaries are finally coming back. What's really interesting about that license-wise, so Hasbro have been the master license holder since its inception in 1987, and they've constantly kind of maintained it and kept it an active trademark. So just Googling here, the most recent trademark was 2025, so only just last year. Obviously, this Super 7 deal would have been in production by then, so it makes sense. But they've maintained the master license and the intellectual property for Visionaries all this time, but they've never done anything with it. They've never kind of released any other figures. There's not been any kind of additional kind of Visionaries stuff. And Steve Evans from Hasbro, I do chat to him, and he was over here in the UK a little while ago, and we went to a retro toy shop and we look at stuff, and I was like, come on, Visionaries, we need to get Visionaries back. Personally, I would love to see them as like a 6-inch collectible, kind of like almost like your Marvel Legends kind of size and scale and articulation. I just think that the concept, the idea of it is a really cool action figure line. So to kind of bring it into the modern age, similar to what Mattel did with He-Man when they did the Origins line, they introduced new articulation and better paint applications and everything like that. So I personally would like to see Hasbro kind of tackle it and bring that back. But we've got Super 7. Super 7 are going to be bringing it back. So yeah, I mean, that works. That does work. The other interesting one as well is Invincible. So they announced that they're covering Invincible. Now, as you know, Invincible is a highly popular comic book line. In recent years became a television show for Amazon Prime. Massively popular. Action figure wise, Diamond Select, excuse me, Diamond Select had the license and we're doing a whole bunch of figures for it. These were cool. I quite like them. Obviously, Diamond Select have now gone into liquidation and all finished and stuff, and they did quite a few. They did do quite a few. They did about eight or nine figures, I think it was. Biggest complaint with those were the articulation, and like I always said with Diamond Select is that the paint applications and the detail on the sculpting and that was always very good, but the articulation definitely did lack, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why the line didn't shoot as high as some of the other action figure lines. But yeah, Diamond Select did the original Invincible figures. What we've got now is we've got Jada Toys moving into that line. So we've got Jada Toys. They've released a whole bunch of different Invincible figures that they're going to do. I think there's 3 in the line, the first line. I did see these at London Toy Fair, actually. Well, I saw the boxes anyway. They didn't have the actual figures, but I did see the boxes for these, and they look very cool. And for Invincible fans, they're going to be a very cool, highly articulated line of figures. We know what Jada Toys can do with those Street Fighter figures, and of course now the Scooby-Doo figures. There's a whole bunch of other licenses coming as well, but we know that the license is in good hands with Jada Toys. Super 7 taking on the license is quite interesting. Now, what information I have got here is that they've definitely got a plushie deal going on, so there will be Super 7 plushies of Invincible coming out, but then this does obviously open that door for potentially expanding it into the Reaction line, and expanding the action figures there. I don't know how long Jada Toys have got the license for. I don't know whether that's a multi-year deal or whether it's just a 1 or 2 waves. But with another manufacturer, another brand coming into the scene on Invincible, even if it's only with the plushes, does beg the interesting question of whether Super 7 are going to be kind of aiming for that toy license. Could be quite interesting. So what else have we got? What else have they announced? They announced a whole bunch of other things. Here we go. So the next one, De La Soul. They're going to partner with De La Soul. Reaction releases again, just to celebrate the group's cultural impact rather than aim for hyper-realism. So these are going to fall very much in line with the other Reaction figures that we've had for other franchises. But it's cool if you're a De La Soul fan. It's obviously cool to be able to get kind of like miniature action figures that you can put on your shelf and whatnot. Not one that I'll be picking up. I mean, I like the music, but not enough to kind of buy the action figures. Law and Order as well. That was an interesting one. Law and Order, totally unexpected, but quite an interesting move. It's obviously a long-running television franchise. It's got a huge fan base. But for it to be represented in toy form, that's quite a new, unique thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't, off the top of my head, remember any Law and Order figures coming out before. So that's, that is quite an interesting one. Who knows? I mean, it might be, we might get like Grey's Anatomy and all things like that afterwards. But yeah, Law and Order are going to get their own toys. As I said, I don't think they've ever had a toy representation. MTV is another one that they announced. MTV Plush. So they're going to introduce a plush collection inspired by MTV. I don't really know where this one's going to go. I can't think off the top of my head. I can't think of a plush that would fall into the MTV license. I mean, apart from, the MTV shows like, Beavis and Butthead and things like that. I can't imagine that's a huge, unless they're going to go down more, because MTV in the 90s had quite an iconic look, with their graphics and stuff. So unless they're going to kind of do those, I don't know. Maybe there's not actually much more information there. All it says is under the Super Duper Plush banner. Super 7's going to introduce plush collectibles inspired by MTV. Strange move, but hey. Another one that kind of piqued my interest was Shrek. So Shrek's going to be covered by the Super 7 license. Now this is different. It's not the reactions. It's not plush. What they're doing is they're doing their fun mini range. If you've not seen their fun mini range, they're kind of little statues. They're about $20 each. They've done, off the top of my head, they've done Peanuts. They've done Sesame Street. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Godzilla was another one that they did. But yeah, the fun line are quite cool. Quite a popular concept now, the kind of little desk buddy kind of things. All the brands are doing them. Jada Toys do them very well. Diamond Select did them as well. Obviously, you've got things like Funko and stuff like that. But Super 7's fun mini range is not overly expansive range that they've got, but one that they're obviously growing. So Shrek could be a really interesting one, because I suppose Shrek does appeal to both the younger audience and the kind of adult collector, if you like. Shrek's been around for years now, years and years. I can't even think what number film we're on, but it's definitely been around for a long time. So, you know, the Shrek fun figures are coming. There's also a couple of other Hasbro collaborations. So they are doing blind bag keychains through Super 7 for Furby and My Little Pony. These obviously come in your blind bags, and you'll have a selection of 6 to 8 different characters, and you open them up and you figure out which one you're going to get. My Little Pony makes sense to me. There's a lot of characters in My Little Pony. There's a huge fan base for My Little Pony, so kind of doing collectible bag keychains does make sense. Furby, I think, is an interesting one. I mean, I was never a big Furby fan. I know that there's a big Furby fan base out there. Obviously, it's made a bit of a comeback in recent years, but I can't think of. I mean, I know they came in different colors and stuff, but apart from the different colors, I don't think there was any particular different characters or anything like that. But hey, Furby blind bag keychains. What this does show is that it shows that Super 7 have kind of got a clear direction for 2026, I suppose. We've got, let's have a look back over this. Visionaries, My Little Pony, and Furby all being Hasbro licenses. So that's a big collaboration with Hasbro. Shrek, DreamWorks obviously is very much into the kind of collector market and the tapping into the nostalgia and also the current movies. MTV again taps into that nostalgia. Law and Order, completely left field, but again has a collective fan base. De La Soul, again, same as Law and Order, and Invincible, tapping into that market. The license is kind of, I want to say, up in the air, but we haven't seen any of the Jada Toys figures like at retail yet. They've not been released, so we've kind of, as a collective collectors group, we've kind of appreciated and we've kind of gone, you know what, these look really good, but we haven't actually seen them. They're not out at retail yet, and we don't know what they're like. So yeah, we'll see. But the fact that the Super 7 are now doing Invincible does say to me that the Invincible license is kind of a little bit out there. But yeah, so I mean, it shows that that Super 7 are obviously thinking. They're balancing kind of heritage properties with modern things, different formats. We've got everything from Reaction Plus, fun minis, blind bags. It's definitely kind of putting itself in that collector's market, is hitting all of the things. Now, the rumor is that all of these things are going to be available to see at New York Toy Fair 2026, which, like I said, is at the end of this week. So fingers crossed if they do kind of show these show these off, then that's definitely going to be something to look at. In regards to New York Toy Fair, Hasbro have got another live stream today, I think it's scheduled for, where they're obviously going to be showing off some stuff. They've said that there's no MCU figures coming out, which I know a lot of people are excited for. They're hoping to kind of see some MCU figures, what with like Doomsday coming up and Spider-Man coming out. But they've said that they're not going to be revealing any MCU figures on this live stream. I think this takes place at 11 o'clock Eastern time, so that's about 4 o'clock for us guys over here in the UK. But they are going to be showing something off. So yeah, who knows? We had the Super Bowl. Super Bowl was the other day, and it was quite obvious that we didn't get any Marvel trailers. So it's the first time for as long as I can remember, we didn't actually get any Marvel trailers at the Super Bowl. Is this a marketing technique? Is there's something to it? I don't know. But yeah, so Marvel, Hasbro are going to be doing a live stream later on, and they're going to be revealing their figures there. So yeah, Marvel Legends for me is, I do like Marvel Legends still. I do collect Marvel Legends still, but the lines just kind of change. So I'm kind of excited to see what figures are going to be coming out. So yeah, that's it. Super 7 and Hasbro. I do like the Super 7 figures. I'm not going to lie. I like the reaction figures. Visionaries for me, it's like I said, I mean, Visionaries for me was one of them shows as a kid that I absolutely loved. I absolutely loved it. It was kind of up there for me with like your He-Man, your Thundercats, your Ninja Turtles. And I was kind of shocked to find out as an adult that there wasn't actually as many TV shows. There wasn't actually as many episodes as I kind of remembered. I think back in the 80s and the early 90s, we kind of thought that there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes of stuff, but there wasn't. So Visionaries was quite short-lived, but I just find it really bizarre with all of the retro kind of callbacks and all of the retro callbacks and all of the stuff that we have coming out now. I mean, obviously things like Masters of the Universe, Ninja Turtles, all of those kind of retro brands. I'm really surprised that we haven't had more Visionaries, or we haven't had Visionaries more recently. As I said a little bit earlier, I would love to see a 6-inch line of Visionary figures. So although I'm not disappointed by this news, I'm quite excited by this news. I just hope they do it right. I think they will. I mean, looking back I had a quick look back at some of the other figures that they've done in this kind of Reaction and Reaction Plus line, and Visionaries does fit. It does fit. It works. It fits with it. But it's whether they do the holograms, and if they do them right as well. I'm trying to think now. There wasn't a playset, was there? No, there wasn't a playset for Visionaries released. There was vehicles. There was definitely vehicles, and there was a whole bunch of different figures, but there wasn't a playset. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited by it. I am excited by it, but I kind of wanted something new. I kind of wanted something a little bit different. Something that was gonna, just give a little bit more. Speaking of retro, though, I've not actually been on a live and talked about the He-Man trailer yet. I'm a huge Masters of the Universe fan. It was kind of that one of those first introductions to kind of universes and stuff, and I can't wait. I really can't wait. That trailer absolutely blew my mind. The Mattel figures look cool. They do look cool. Definitely be picking up a set of those. I'm wondering now whether what would be really cool as a collector, and especially as a collector of the kind of origins and the originals and all that kind of stuff, it would be really cool if we got movie versions in like the origin scale. That makes sense. So, like I've got one like this. Yeah, it'd be really cool if we got kind of movie versions of the characters in these origin scale. But yeah, it's just, as a trailer, it looked really cool. And I'm hoping, I'm very hopeful that at New York Toy Fair we're going to see more of that line. It would be really cool if they showed a little bit more. Now, there are certain characters that are clearly missing that we're hoping that we're going to see. It'd be good to kind of get a Sorceress figure. Orko's obviously very absent from the trailer, and there's a lot of talk about whether he's going to be in the film or not. So it'll be really interesting to see how they do that, and it'll be cool to kind of get an action figure of him. But yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. So there we go. So that's my live. Basically, my plan is to kind of just jump on every day and just do a little bit about what's going on. I do it as a blog post, but I just thought the thing that stands out the most to me on the blog, I'll jump on and just kind of talk about. And then if anyone's seen anything or anyone's kind of got anything going on, I've been really rubbish with the comments here and I've not kind of got to anyone. So I do apologize. But, if you've seen anything that's come out or that's been announced, then obviously jump in and, let's discuss it. I will be doing another Geek Meet with Ryan soon. We're planning on jumping on and doing one. Things have just been a bit hectic. We got together and went to London Toy Fair, and there was a whole bunch of stuff there that is really exciting that obviously is under embargo, so we can't actually talk about it. Power Rangers is looking good. I'll just say that. Power Rangers looking good. And the other one that really stood out to me was Blockies. Blockies have got some cool license deals coming up. So we are going to see some really good stuff for Blockies this year as well. Blockies, for anyone that doesn't know, is a kind of like a construction box set. So they're like blind bags. There's on the side of the box, so they do Transformers, for example, and there'll be like half a dozen Transformer figures in that particular wave. And you'll open it up. You don't know which one you're going to get. There's rare ones in there and stuff. And you kind of collect the whole. You can kind of just see them. No, you can't. They're just out of camera. But I've got a whole bunch of Transformers ones, but they're cool because you kind of put them together, and there's kind of a building element to it as well. But they've got some really cool licenses coming up with Marvel and Star Wars. But yeah, there we go. So what are your thoughts on Super 7? What are your thoughts on Super 7's licenses? So just to recap before I finish, we have got Visionaries coming in the Reaction Plus form. I'm just going to actually have a look at something. Yeah. Yes. So in the Reaction Plus form. So Super 7 are going to be doing Visionaries in the Reaction Plus form. Knights in the Magical Light. Let's hope that we get those holograms and we get those accessories. And let's hope that, they could really build on this line. They could then go in to do the vehicles and stuff. But anyway, Visionaries are finally back. So after all of this wait, 1987 was when it came out. We haven't had an action figure line since then. Visionaries is finally back in the form of Reaction Plus figures. Invincible is going to be covered by Super 7 as well. They're going to do plush deal. So we're going to get plushies. So Jada Toys are still releasing the action figures as far as we can tell. But Super 7 have kind of got their foot in the door there in regards to Invincible. So who knows? At the end of the day, if two different license holders provide us with figures, then it's a good day. De La Soul is going to be in the Reaction line. They're going to be in their music line. Law and Order are going to get their first action figures again in that Reaction line. It's cool if you're a Law and Order fan. I suppose as well, the other thing, if you do collect that scale of figures, the Law and Order figures are going to be good civilians. They're going to be good kind of crowd builders. So for action figure photography and stuff, if you do it with the 3 3/4 inch figures, then you're going to get a bunch of Law and Order figures, which would be good for civilians. MTV Plush, we're going to get Super 7 Super Duper Plush. No mention of what they're going to do. I'm kind of hoping we're going to get a Beavis and Butthead. Beavis and Butthead plush would be quite fun. We're going to get Shrek in the Fun mini line. These are the little $20 box kind of desktop collectibles. They're pretty cool. They do Peanuts, they do Sesame Street, and they do Godzilla at the moment. But they're going to do Shrek. So we'll be getting some Shrek little desk collectibles. And we're going to carry on with the Hasbro collaboration of blind bag keychains, and we're going to get Furby and My Little Pony. My Little Pony is one that kind of needs a little bit of a revamp, if you like. So yeah, so that's all of the Super 7 news. Interesting, definitely interesting. We will see where it goes, and we will see if it takes off. I think for me, the two big ones there are Invincible and Visionaries, because as I said, Visionaries not having an action figure since the 1980s, it's been massively absent from kind of modern toy shelves and modern collectibles. And I think that the concept of Visionaries could land well with kids today. You know, it seems to be one of the biggest tests is whether they make it onto Fortnite. And if they make it onto Fortnite, then they tend to land quite well. And I suppose they could. I mean, Visionaries I wouldn't complain if running around playing as a Visionaries character. And also the Invincible one. The Invincible one definitely, I mean, I like Jada Toys. I do a lot of work with Jada Toys and a lot of unboxings and reviews and stuff for Jada Toys. And having seen the boxes at London Toy Fair, their Invincible figures are definitely going to not disappoint. If you have picked up any of their Street Fighter figures, you'll know just how good they are. So I don't think they're in bad hands with Jada Toys at all. I think they're in very good hands, and I think that line of figures is going to definitely over what's the word? Subsede? No, that's not the right word. But be a lot better than what we had from Diamond Select. Diamond Select were much more kind of articulated statues, let's be honest. And I think these Jada Toys are going to be really cool. So yeah, so that's it for today. I'm going to jump back on tomorrow and do, you know, a little bit of an update of some of the news that came out tomorrow. We've got the Marvel Legends stream later today, so no doubt I'll be covering that as well. Let me know in the comments what you're hoping to see. I don't actually have any predictions for that live stream. Yeah, there's nothing. Now that they've said there's no MCU figures, I don't actually have any major predictions. So, yeah, we'll see. We shall see. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in, commenting along. I do apologize I didn't get to a lot of the comments, but I will make sure that I get to them tomorrow. If you see anything overnight or anything that's released and you want to chat about it tomorrow, then jump on and drop a comment and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Until then, thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you later.